The boardroom lights burned bright, every executive frozen in disbelief. The billionaire CEO, Olivia Hayes, stood inches away from the janitor, a single dad whose calloused hands still carried the smell of bleach and floor wax. Her voice didn't tremble, though her eyes betrayed a storm. "Pretend you kiss me for 10 minutes," she whispered, low enough for only him to hear. The entire room gasped. No one knew why she said it. No one expected what the janitor would do next. Before we dive in, drop a comment with where you're watching from, and don't forget to hit subscribe for more videos like this. Let's begin. The words hung in the air like a grenade. Executives shifted in their leather seats, unsure if this was some twisted power move or desperation from a woman who never cracked under pressure. Jacob Miller, 34, single father of a 7-year-old girl, tightened his grip on the mop handle. His chest rose and fell, a rush of panic clashing with something deeper: sympathy. He'd seen her walking in late nights, shoulders stiff, jaw clenched, the kind of loneliness he knew too well. "Excuse me?" His voice was rough, the kind of tone that carried from years of swallowing pride. Olivia didn't blink. Her eyes glistened with unshed fire. 10 minutes, that's all." Whispers turned into hisses. "Is this real?" She's lost it. A janitor? But Olivia's next words silenced the room. "If you don't, my enemies will eat me alive." The truth cracked through her mask. This wasn't a stunt. She wasn't mocking him. She was begging. And Jacob, for all his scars, had never turned away from someone fighting not to drown. His daughter's face flashed in his mind. Her smile when he tucked her in, her tiny voice saying, "Daddy, you're my hero." What would she want him to do? To walk away, or to stand tall for someone who needed him? Jacob let the mop fall to the floor. The sound echoed like a gunshot. And then, before anyone could stop him, he stepped forward. Jacob's boots echoed against the marble floor as he closed the distance between himself and Olivia. Every heartbeat seemed to ricochet off the walls, bouncing between stunned executives who had never seen their CEO so vulnerable. His calloused hand hesitated just inches from her cheek. He could see the tremble in her lips, the tightness in her jaw. For all her polished power, she was cornered. And for a moment, Jacob wondered if the request had less to do with survival and more to do with the weight of loneliness she carried. "You sure about this?" His voice was low, steady, but carried the kind of gravity that made people listen. Olivia nodded once, sharp, determined, but with the faintest crack at the edges. The room collectively held its breath as Jacob leaned in. His rough palms cupped her face, startling her with the unexpected gentleness. And then, he kissed her. It wasn't forced. It wasn't performative. It was steady, protective, and strangely tender. The kind of kiss that said, "You're not alone. Not right now." Gasps broke through the silence. A few executives shifted uncomfortably. Others stared wide-eyed, phones trembling in their hands, as if deciding whether to record the moment that could bring down an empire. But Olivia, she didn't care. For the first time in years, she let herself close her eyes and stop fighting. Minutes stretched like lifetimes. Jacob's lips pressed against hers, not with passion, but with defiance, shielding her from the vultures in the room. When they finally broke apart, Olivia's breathing was unsteady, her hands still clutching the lapel of his work jacket. The silence was deafening. Then came the first voice, a snarl. "This is a disgrace." It was Vincent Crane, head of the board, a man who had spent years waiting for her to crack. His voice dripped with venom. "A CEO locking lips with a janitor? You've lost all credibility. Our shareholders will tear you apart." Olivia straightened, but Jacob saw the flicker of pain in her eyes. He recognized it, because it was the same look he had every time he walked into a parent-teacher conference, surrounded by married couples who pitied the janitor raising a daughter alone. And before Olivia could speak, Jacob's voice cut through the air. "Funny," he said, his tone sharp as steel. "Because all I saw was a room full of cowards watching a woman drown, and not one of you moved to help her. Not one. Until she asked the janitor." The room erupted, some with scoffs, others with nervous laughter. But a few froze, guilt flickering across their faces. Olivia's lips parted in shock. She wasn't used to anyone defending her, certainly not a man who scrubbed the floors beneath her feet. Vincent slammed his hand against the polished table. "You think this little stunt saves her? You've only made her look weaker." Jacob took a step forward, standing shoulder to shoulder with Olivia now. His height, his broad shoulders, his calm but fierce presence. It changed the entire atmosphere. "No," Jacob said firmly. "It shows she's human. And if you think kindness is weakness, maybe you've forgotten what leadership is supposed to look like." The words hit like a hammer. A hush fell. For the first time, Olivia felt something she hadn't in years: safe, protected. Not because of her money, not because of her title, but because someone stood up when everyone else was content to watch her burn. She cleared her throat, her voice steady once more. Meeting adjourned. Executives muttered, gathering their papers, their eyes darting between the janitor and their CEO, like they'd just witnessed a scandal they couldn't wait to weaponize. But Olivia didn't care. Not tonight. As the last of them filed out, she turned to Jacob. Her facade cracked just slightly. "You didn't have to do that," she whispered. Jacob looked at her, tired eyes filled with something more than pity, something steadier. "Yeah, I did." Silence lingered, heavy but not suffocating. And then Olivia's gaze dropped to his hands, scarred, rough, nails still faintly stained from cleaning chemicals. Hands that had held her face with more care than anyone in her world of suits and sharks. "Why?" she asked, almost afraid of the answer. Jacob's throat tightened. He thought of his daughter, Emily. He thought of all the nights she asked why Mommy never came back, why Daddy always looked so tired, why the world seemed so unfair. "Because when someone's drowning, you don't stand on the shore and watch," Jacob said. "You dive in. Doesn't matter who they are." For a moment, Olivia forgot she was the most powerful woman in the room. She was just a woman, one who hadn't been kissed like that, not with tenderness, not with selflessness, in years. Her voice cracked, so faint Jacob almost didn't hear it. "Thank you." He nodded, already reaching for his mop again. But she stopped him, her hand brushing his arm. "Jacob." The way she said his name, it wasn't a command. It was fragile, almost reverent. "Come to my office tomorrow morning," she said softly. "Please." Jacob hesitated, his instincts screaming to walk away. Men like him didn't belong in offices like hers. But something in her eyes, the storm barely held back, made him nod. "All right." That night, as Jacob walked home under the flickering street lamps, Emily's small hand in his mind spun with questions he couldn't answer. But deep down, one truth settled into his bones. Whatever tomorrow held, nothing would ever be the same. Morning sunlight streamed through the skyscraper's windows, painting the city in streaks of gold and gray. Jacob stood outside the CEO's office, his heart hammering against his ribs. His janitor's uniform felt out of place here. the navy blue shirt stained at the sleeve, the patched-up knees of his work pants. Emily had begged him not to be late, dropping her off at school. And now here he was, staring at glass doors engraved with Olivia Hayes' name. The receptionist blinked at him twice, clearly unsure what a janitor was doing here at 9 in the morning. But before she could protest, Olivia's voice rang out. "Send him in." Her office was vast, floor-to-ceiling windows overlooking Manhattan, walls lined with books and steel sculptures. She stood by the glass, her power suit crisp, her expression unreadable. Jacob stepped in, every muscle tense. He cleared his throat. "I'm not sure why I'm here, ma'am." Olivia turned, eyes sharper than the skyline behind her. "Because last night, you did something no one else in that boardroom had the courage to do. You stood by me." Jacob's jaw tightened. "I just did what anyone should have done." Her lips curved bitterly. "That's the problem, isn't it? Anyone should have. But no one did." She walked closer, each heel click deliberate, until she was just a breath away. Jacob felt the weight of her gaze. But this time, it wasn't the predator's stare of a CEO used to swallowing opponents whole. It was something else. Fragile, searching. "You want to know why I asked you to kiss me?" she said quietly. Jacob crossed his arms, unsure if he wanted the answer. She exhaled, almost like it hurt. "Because I was cornered. Vincent Crane and his allies have been trying to destroy me for months. Last night, I needed to show them I wasn't weak. But what I realized," she hesitated, her voice breaking, "is that I haven't felt safe in years. And for one moment, when you stepped forward, I did." Her words struck him harder than any insult could. He knew what it was to live on guard, to walk into every room bracing for impact. He knew loneliness when he saw it. He lived it every night after Emily fell asleep. Jacob shook his head slowly. "You've got millions of people working under you, all the money in the world, and you still don't feel safe?" Olivia's eyes glistened. "Money doesn't protect you from betrayal. Power doesn't protect you from loneliness." The silence stretched until Jacob found himself speaking without meaning to. "Emily, my daughter, she thinks I'm a hero. But half the time, I don't even know how I'm going to pay rent. The only thing I can promise her is that I'll never walk away. That's the only kind of power I've ever had." Something flickered in Olivia's face. Envy? Admiration? Maybe both. And then she did something no one expected. She pulled out a contract from her desk and slid it across the glass surface. Jacob frowned. "What's this?" "A position," Olivia said. "Not as a janitor, as part of my personal staff. Security, if you'll accept it. High pay, flexible hours, enough to change your daughter's life." Jacob's hands stayed firmly at his sides. "Why me?" Her answer was simple, raw. "Because you've already protected me once, and because I trust you." Jacob let out a short laugh, sharp, bitter. "You don't even know me." "I know enough," she countered softly. For a long moment, Jacob stared at the contract. His mind raced. Emily's tuition, their cramped apartment, the bills piling on the kitchen counter. One signature could rewrite all of it. But he also knew stepping into her world meant putting himself and his daughter under the microscope of people who already despised him. "I don't want pity," he said finally. Olivia shook her head. "This isn't pity. It's something I can't even name. But I know I need someone in my corner who sees me as more than a CEO." Her voice cracked on the last word. Jacob looked into her eyes and saw it. The exhaustion she hid, the bruises power had left behind. She wasn't offering him charity. She was asking for an alley he swallowed hard, All right, I'll do it. But not because I owe you, because no one deserves to fight alone. For the first time, a genuine smile curved Olivia's lips. But what happened next stunned them both. The glass doors swung open. Vincent Crane stormed in, papers in hand, his face twisted with rage. "I knew it," he hissed. "Bringing your janitor into your office at 9 a.m.? The press will have a field day. You're finished, Olivia." Olivia stiffened, but Jacob stepped forward before she could answer. "You're right about one thing," Jacob said calmly. "She doesn't fight fair anymore." He walked closer, towering over Vincent with quiet authority. "Because she's not fighting alone." Vincent sneered. "What are you going to do? Mop me to death?" Jacob's jaw tightened, but his voice remained level. "But I'll tell you this. I'd rather stand with her in the truth than sit with you in all your lies." The room froze. Vincent faltered, thrown off by the janitor's defiance. And in that moment, Olivia seized control. "You're dismissed, Vincent," she said coldly. "Effective immediately. I'll have security escort you out." Vincent's face turned crimson, but he knew better than to push further. He stormed out, slamming the doors behind him. The silence that followed was electric. Olivia turned to Jacob, her eyes wide with something close to awe. "You just risked everything," she whispered. Jacob shook his head. I just reminded him, and maybe you, what real strength looks like." For the first time in years, Olivia laughed. It wasn't polished or careful. It was raw, almost disbelieving. "You really are dangerous, you know that?" Jacob smirked faintly. "I'm just a single dad trying to do right by my kid." But Olivia's gaze lingered on him, softer than before. "Maybe you're more than that." That evening, Jacob walked home with Emily, the city lights flickering like 1,000 promises. He didn't tell her everything, only that tomorrow might look different. "Daddy," Emily said sleepily, her tiny hand curled around his. "Did you save someone again?" Jacob's throat tightened. He glanced up at the night sky, then down at his daughter's trusting eyes. "Maybe," he said softly. "But sometimes saving someone isn't about fighting. Sometimes it's just about standing beside them." And for the first time in years, as Emily leaned against his arm and the weight of the day settled into something almost hopeful, Jacob realized he hadn't just changed Olivia Hayes' life. She had changed his too. The janitor didn't just pretend to kiss the CEO. He showed her, and everyone watching, that kindness, loyalty, and courage could shake an empire more than power ever could.